With me in the studio, Jodie Steele, Six the Musical. And can I just clarify? Actually, it's at the Lowry right through till the 11th of January, and so it's got. Why is it? Has the run been extended? Because I thought it was.
we had to add an extra week because we're absolutely sold out.
Billy big time.
Very popular up here. We love it.
Do you know when you look at history? So Henry VIII and his wives, and then we move on. So it actually is history. And if you look at that period of time, those medieval days, back from the perspective of 2019. When I hope we're more thoughtful and more equal and more egalitarian. Actually, it was Henry that was the failure, not the wives.
Yeah.
He was a complete waste of time and energy.
He was, yeah, and you really learn that in this show. But that's not what you're told at school at all. You know, you're told how
big, strong man.
Yeah, and he had to replace each wife with a better, new or younger, model. And actually, what you learn in this is that the wives didn't have a choice, and quite often they didn't want to be divorced, and certainly didn't want to be beheaded.
Well, I don't think anybody would say, do you know I fancy being beheaded today?
No, and I play Catherine Howard, and she's one of the beheaded ones. She's the fifth wife that was beheaded, and she was beheaded. No one knows when she was born because her birth certificate is not.
She was very
recorded.
brave, wasn't she? In the face of that.
Yeah, well, she was only 19. They think. I mean, it is around 19 years of age, and she met Henry around the age of 15. So you can imagine being sent off to court, and she didn't have a choice. She couldn't say no. You're not allowed to say no to the king. Back then, if the king said, "I want that lady," that's who he got. And yeah, they had to put up with so much, and I just think their stories are so falsely told from a man's point of view.
Looking at his inadequacies, and I've realised as I've got older and I've looked at history through a different prism, looking at his inadequacies, how do you think those women felt having to be with him? And unfortunately, some of them would die because of that.
Well, I think back then, your kind of loyalty had to lie, well, it rhymes, with royalty. And also, Henry VIII was kind of seen as a god, because he obviously changed the church, that he would be above what he was
the leader of the church by that time.
So for someone like my character, Catherine Howard, in her time, certainly, what he said is what it was. So I almost think that they just kind of accepted the fact that they almost didn't matter, that what they thought and what they said didn't matter, and that they must just do as they were told. When
we first were introduced to the cast last year, and they said, "Oh, we'll come on your extravaganza," and I remember at the time thinking that, going back to, as I said right at the start of this conversation, the juxtaposition of girl power and relatively modern music, and that style of music now has a genre all of its own. So that, and what could be very, very dry historical fact.
Yeah.
At the time, I remember thinking, is this going to work? Well, there have been musicals with far more initial commercial appeal. You think, oh, what a great format, that's going to work. And they haven't, and they've closed.
Yeah.
And yet yours has that magic. Why?
Because it is, it's an accessible girl group that people can find inspiration from. The music. Have you listened to the album?
No,
you've got to listen to the album.
I have listened to quite a lot of the music because of that piece there, and when we had the casting a year ago, obviously I was listening to what it was all about.
Well, that initial reaction that you had, we're like, oh God, this is fantastic. That's what you get for the full show. Every single song brings a new flavour. Every single song brings a new story. It's never the same. You don't expect what's going to come from each queen, and I think that's what's made it so popular. The outfits, the style of it, the fact that we've dragged the past into the present. It's addictive.
The bit that is, I think, the drive behind this, it's so easy to write songs for a musical that are okay.
Yeah,
those will do. Those sound like show tunes. Excellent, we'll have a hit with this.
Yeah.
Whereas the songs that you sing sound like proper hit
like you
records.
Could hear them on the radio.
Yes.
Yeah, each one, 100%. Each song
Who
is
wrote
a hit
them?
record. Toby, Marlowe and Lucy Moss, and there's a really funny story. So they were at university together, and Toby and Lucy had been friends for years, and Toby wrote a little message to Lucy on a piece of paper and handed it over the desk, slid it across to her, and it said, "What do you think about Henry VIII's Wives as a girl band?" And that is how it started.
Beginning of it.
Yeah, and you think how ridiculous, but it's just worked. And I think if people put enough belief behind an idea, something amazing can come from that. And that's what's happened here.
Great having you on the programme.
Thank you.
Enjoy your stay in Manchester.
Thank you so much.
It's a great place to be. Jodie Steele, cheers.
Bye.